Welcome everyone to the second race night of Season 2 for the PDC Racing League Championship here from the magnificent international circuit at Oulton Park in the northwest of England. Rounds 3 and 4 of this second season of racing, and already we've enjoyed a pair of cracking races a week ago at rather a different setting, the Okayama International Circuit in Japan. Two different race winners and some truly epic racing, probably some of the most dramatic and exciting racing that this relatively new championship has produced, and we're hoping that we get more of the same tonight around the tight and technical confines of the Oulton Park International Circuit. My name's Andy McEwen, up here in the commentary box, very much looking forward to bringing these two races to you all this evening. Welcome everyone, wherever you are in the world. Hope you're enjoying your PDC racing action this season. Season 1 was really good, and then Season 2 seems to be building nicely on everything that we saw over the last month or so from the PDC Racing League. This one-make championship for the Skip Barber Formula 2000 single-seaters, a car that really does generate close racing, lots of overtaking, and now we've got a massive grid which is even more competitive than ever. On-track action is delivering more and more every time that we go racing. So yeah, very much looking forward to the action that we have coming your way tonight. The drivers are in the middle of a 20-minute practice session at the moment. There are just under 8 minutes of this practice session left, after which we have a 5-minute qualifying session and then a 20-minute race. Then a short break before another 5-minute qualifying session for the 30-minute feet race afterwards. So two separate races. They each have a separate qualifying session. You score points in this championship, not just for the races, 25 points for a win, but you also score 10 points for qualifying on pole position in either one of those qualifying sessions. If you're anywhere in the top 8 on the grid, score championship points, and those championship points that you score from qualifying could really come in handy as we move into the final part of the season. They certainly did Season 1. Dan Blake that won our opening season of the PDC Racing League, and he is leading the championship again now, but it was not all plain sailing for the reigning champ last time out at Okayama. He won the first race by 1.6 seconds over Chris Knox in second and Ian Crosby third. The results on your screen now for the first race a week ago. David Ward and Gavin Johnson rounded out the top 5, and they all really kind of picked their way through some of the early drama. There was quite a bit of contact in the early stages, as you might expect from a grid of drivers all keen to get their season off to a good start. But Dan Blake was able to pick his way through for the victory. For race 2, though, made a bit of a mess of qualifying. He also had a moment early on in the race which dropped him down the order, and that really meant that Dan on the back foot, so to speak, for race number 2. He worked his way through nicely. They got into second going on to the final lap, attacked for the race lead, and got it completely wrong. Lost control. He and Kyle Power made contact, and it was Carl Jacquelet, Dan's Yearone Racing teammate, who came through to snatch the victory, with Pip Hammond, championship organiser, getting his first ever podium in the PDC Racing League, with second place and Adam Southgate third, ahead of Kyle Power, who recovered to fourth, and Freddie Hewitt, the youngster, got himself a top 5 to end the night. All of which means that Dan Blake arrives here at round 3 of the championship on 61 championship points. David Ward second on 55, so there are 6 points between the top 2. Carl Jacquelet is third after his race victory last time out, whilst Kyle Power and Adam Southgate round out the top 5. So already some of the drivers that we saw really fighting for championship honours in Season 1 are struggling quite a bit in the second season, and we're definitely seeing some new names challenging at the front. People like Kyle Power, Adam Southgate, for example, Freddie Hewitt, all drivers that we didn't really see racing with us in Season 1, but are right on the pace at the start of our second season. So we'll be watching with interest to see whether or not they can continue that good form at Oulton Park. Very challenging circuit, the Oulton Park International Circuit, though. All 2.7 miles of it, 17 turns. It's the longest of the 3 layouts here in the Parkland, Cheshire countryside. My local circuit as well, so I'm a little biased when I say what an amazing place it is. Enjoyable a track as it is to race at and to watch racing at, it can be a challenge to overtake here. Track position is vital. If you don't have that track position, it can be very hard to get it back. So the 5-minute qualifying session, which is coming up in just under 5 minutes' time, will be pivotal, not only because of those championship points that are on offer, but also because the further up the grid you qualify, obviously the easier your life becomes when we get into the race. So this man here, Dan Blake, the reigning champion and championship leader, will really be looking to not have a repeat of the spin that he had in qualifying. He messed up one of the qualifying sessions at Okayama last time out. Because it's such a short session, you really only got one flying lap, and as he came out of the final corner to start his one flying lap, spun and hit the pit wall, damaged the car. He lost all of his momentum starting the new lap, and that meant that Dan ended up starting way down in the midfield. Still came through, obviously, to run at the front, but really was an example of how you can make a bit of a mess of qualifying, and Dan definitely doesn't want to be doing the same thing here at Oulton Park, because it's considerably harder to pass here than it was at Okayama a week ago. You'll also notice, regular viewers of the PDC Racing League, that Blake has a different livery, very different livery actually, on his car. He's running with the Alpha Live livery, still racing for Yearone Racing, but he and his teammate as well, Ben Leach, are both running. Sharp, excuse me, one of the Ben Sharp, are both running with the this new livery, which I have to say I'm a big fan of. Not quite as distinctive as the traditional in yellow and pink Yearone Racing colours, which as we're seeing here, adorning the Carl Jacquelet number 42 car, but still a very nice looking car that Dan and Ben will be hoping to pilot to the front of the field. And Johnson here as well, he'll be after slightly better performances here than he had at Okayama. He was a championship contender in season 1, ended up finishing top 3 in the championship. In fact, he was second in the championship, but didn't have it all his own way really. He was involved in a couple of incidents at Okayama, picked up a solid 20 points for race number 1, but race number 2 did not quite go his way. He scored just the 1 point for finishing down in 10th place. And Gavin, as a result, arrives here at Oulton Park just outside the top 10 in points, 11th place in points for him. He leads the points, like I said, with Ward, Jacquelet, Power and Southgate, the rest of the top 5. But Dan did not have a brilliant time here at Oulton, I seem to recall, last time they raced here. He certainly didn't win a race. The race winners here in Season 1, when Oulton Park was actually the first round of the championship, were Ian Best in race 1 and Ben Leach in race 2. So maybe that Dan struggled a little. Having said that, he had a couple of podiums, but only third places. He didn't get himself race win, and in season 1 that was a rare thing to not have Dan Blake on the top step of the podium. But, as we made the point a couple of times last time, we'll continue to do so, I'm sure, throughout this season. The field is a lot more competitive now, so Dan is having to work a bit harder to achieve these race wins. Or with Abby Pulling now, who has also just joined the Yearone Racing ranks, and Abby is a very rapid driver, completely and utterly out of luck. Unfortunately, last time out was Abby, but she is racing with us again. Not sure whether she can do both races tonight, but she's definitely with us for the first race. Abby's also been racing in the British Formula 4 iRacing Championship, and iRacing Trophy, I should say, with its official name. And Abby has been getting the odd top 5 in that championship as well, so he is definitely a single-seater ace, and that wasn't the ideal line through the Britain chicane, but he's capable of running very, very quickly indeed. At the moment, fastest in the session, though, is Ben Leach, and that shouldn't really be a surprise, because he, as I mentioned, won a race here last time we raced at Oulton Park. It's only a free practice session, remember, so it doesn't count for any points, but still, nice start to the evening for Ben Leach. He's fastest on a 1 minute 53.04. That is 0.34 of a second, so 3.5 tenths quicker than Ben Sharp second. That won't confuse me at all, will it, if both of the Bens are on the pace tonight? I've already mixed them up once this evening. Dan Blake, the championship leader, is third fastest. Ian Crosby, we were just watching there, is 4th, and Ben Bateman rounding out the top 5 in the practice session with Adam Southgate, Freddie Hewitt, Carl Jacquelet, and Alex Hall inside the top 10 as the checkered flag flies. So the session is complete. We'll see now whether or not that is a similar order to the one that we have when they line up on the grid in about 5 minutes' time, because qualifying is now live. The cars are making their way out onto the track, And as I said, it's a long lap. They will maybe squeeze 2 flying laps in, but certainly no more than that. And so getting the tyres up to temperature this out lap is going to be vital importance, because you don't want to arrive at Oulton Corner, worse still I suppose Cascade, the second corner, on your first 5 laps to find that you've got cold tyres. That will definitely slow you down. So I think we could see drivers really quite desperately to warm the tyres up in the first lap out of the pit lane. So waiting for the cars to start getting up to speed. We're following Freddie Hewitt now through the Shell hairpin up at the far end of the circuit. Freddie, who arrives here at Oulton Park. When I click on the right thing on my laptop, he arrives here at 9th place in the championship, does Freddie, on 34 points, though, which means he's already nearly 30 points off the championship lead. Fair to say that there were 4 or 5 drivers that really did very well out of Okayama last time out, and they have got themselves into the top 5 in the points. And then there's a bit of a gap back then to the rest of the drivers who had pace, but maybe didn't quite knit it all together into a pair of good race results. So early days still in this championship, of course, but it is only a 10-race championship, so already we are a fifth of the way through Season 2. Tonight we'll be nearly halfway, so others who are a bit further back in the points will not want to stay there for long. Knox will not want to be doing that when he gets onto his qualifying lap either. Just about keeps it out of the barriers. Chris appears to have a new Lotus Formula 1 inspired livery on his car as well for this particular event. Chris Knox, stunt driving extraordinaire, but again demonstrating some of his car control there through the devilishly quick right-hander at Druids. And now we follow as he heads out of Shell into Britain's. He's just on his outlap now, I think, from the pit lane in the number 26 machine. The blue car crests the hill over Hilltop and past what would usually be a packed spectator area. Hopefully later on this season we might get to enjoy a day in the sun at Oulton Park. I've done many a time on that particular piece of racetrack. Court has driven this place a few times as well in his life. He heads over the hill now, and Ian is another rapid driver and someone who would have liked to have scored a few more points so far in Season 2, but obviously a lot of drivers failing to score points. We did get 23 drivers into the points last time out, though, of the now nearly 40 drivers that we've had registered for Season 2. So an awful lot of them, certainly over half the grid, managed to get themselves some points from the opening races. Flying laps now beginning, and there's a car just come out of the pit lane there, one of the RS liveried cars, which goes straight on. That's Ben Bateman in the 293, who interestingly is also in the number 41 car according to my timing screen. There are 2 Ben Batemans in the race, but that's one of them, having a slight slide through Cascades. Then probably disappearing, interestingly. McLone was the car that went through in car number 7, but we're still waiting for the first lap tyres to come through. Jason Wood's already got some damage to the end of his nose cone, so he's run into someone or something, another one of the late RS liveried cars. He gets it all out of shape through Druids. That's not the fastest way through that corner, Jason, and it's an easy corner to get wrong. Usually fairly unforgiving as well if you do make a mistake. Hansi in the number 40 car. He's a very rapid Mazda MX-5 racer, but now another rapid MX-5 racer, Dan Blake, has just set the provisional pole position time, because lap times are starting to come through now. Dan Blake quickest on a 1:53.0. That's 3/4 of a second quicker than Freddie Hewitt second. Dan Blake we're seeing here going on to another lap now down the Lakeside Straight. Ben Leach goes second, the race winner here from Season 1, jumps onto the front row. He will get another lap in as well, because there's still 30 seconds left on the clock. There's some traffic ahead of him there, the 92 car trying its best to stay out of the way. That's Roger Morton. He goes on the grass in doing so. He does indeed get through. He is on a real flyer here. Freddie Hewitt is third, but the top 2 drivers are separated by 6/100ths of a second. Freddie is a further 7/10ths back from that, so there's a big gulf between second and third at the moment. David Ward is fourth. Ben Sharp is in 5th right now. Only 13 drivers have completed their first lap, make that 14 now, as Kevin McLone sets the 14th fastest time. The checkered flag, though, is already out. If you're on a lap, though, you can finish it. So everyone pretty much still pushing hard out there to try and make improvement on their second lap. The tyres and brakes will be fully up to temperature now. Cars, in theory, should be going quicker than ever. The Hislop chicane into Knickerbrook corner goes Freddie. He's got Chris Knox there in front trying to get past Peter Van Gool in the 0:39 car. Peter's sixth fastest at the moment. He's going quite well. Chris Knox, of course, after his moment earlier on, well, in fact, he's on his one and only flying lap of the session. Freddie Hewitt on his second lap. He's trying to improve on third place on the grid if he can. And then out of the final corner, I think, was coming Dan Blake. So we're about to get the second rush of cars across the start-finish line. Can Dan Blake improve on a 1:53.03? So is the line, yes, by 1/100th of a second. So it's 53.02. Adam Southgate jumps up into the top 10 for 8th position right now. And Chris Knox goes third. So Chris Knox, with his one flying lap of the session, gets himself onto the second row of the grid, but still nearly 7/10 off pole. And now he gets pipped by David Ward, who goes third in the pink number 69 car. There he goes, having taken the checkered flag now. Gavin Johnson improves to 9th right at the end. Peter Van Gool's been off the track and has dropped down to 8th place. So no further improvement for him. Jack Lett jumps into 11th, but we thought he might have been further up the order. Roughly there. It's just gone because Ian Crosby's just gone third fastest. There he goes in the Specsavers car out of the first corner. He won't need a pair of glasses to see the start-finish lights from third on the grid, though. He'll be right at the pointy end where he wants to be. Well, still on a lap. I think these drivers possibly have seen the checkered flag. Carl Jacquelet improves to 5th. That's more like it. The race winner from Okayama last time out in the Year 1 racing car is into the top 5 now. He knocks Chris Knox out of the top 5. Steve Hefford is making his debut, a regular racer in the BSR MX-5 Pro Series. He's into 8th place now. I think it's almost it. There are more cars coming through, but none of them are troubling the top 10 in times. Quite a lot of drivers, though, yet to set a time. We've got, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 drivers that are registered in the session, haven't set a time. 23 drivers have completed the session, and I don't know whether or not there is anybody else out there still pushing, but the on the grid, more or less, I think, should be set with Dan Blake on pole, Ben Leach second. It did tighten up a little bit as the session went on there. No longer is there that sort of 7/10 gulf between the front row and everybody else, but it is still a sizable advantage that Blake and Leach have. In pace, those 6/100 separating Blake and Leach, and then a further quarter of a second back to Ian Crosby in third. Here then is your grid for race number 1 of the night. Dan Blake and Ben Leach share the front row of the grid, the championship leader alongside a race winner from Oulton Park in season 1. Ian Crosby and David Ward are on row 2. Carl Jacquelet, winner last time out, is 5th with Chris Knox alongside him. Then Freddie Hewitt and Steve Hefford, whilst Ben Sharp and Peter Gould round out the top 10. Gavin Johnson is 11th alongside Adam Southgate on the 12th row. Then Pip Hammond and Alex Hall share the 7th row of the grid, excuse me. Then Marcus Weller and Sam Holman on row 8, Ed Cooper and Ian Court on row 9, and Dale Bennison with Roger Morton on the 10th row. Craig Jones and Chris Nyland are on row 11, ahead of Kevin McGlone and Charles Kellyman on the 12th row. Abby Pulling is 25th. She's on row 13 with Kevin Boland, and then 3 Bens, although I don't think they are all Bens. We've got Ben Best and then both of the Ben Batemans, one of whom I'm presuming is not the actual Ben Bateman. We'll get further on information on that when we can, but Ben Best 27th, then 2 Batemans in theory 28th and 29th, with Lee Vaughan to round out the top 30. Then it's Doug Hamilton, Gary Bailey, Paul Warren. Ben Hansey we saw out on track but never finished a lap, so he'll be starting down in 34th, with Alan Toon bringing up the rear. So just about ready to go then. The cars lining up on the grid, just waiting for the last couple of drivers to make it onto the grid, and then we'll go racing. 20 minutes the distance here, 25 championship points available for the race winner at the end of this one. Dan Blake, I think that we're waiting for now, the man on pole position, and looking to try and extend his championship margin right now over some of his nearest rivals, David Ward, Carl Jacquelet and Kyle Power. Kyle Power actually yet tonight, not sure if he is racing with us at Oulton Park. that's one less rival maybe for Dan Blake to worry about. There he is. The number 1 car spawns onto pole position, so that means the red lights can go on, and we're about to go racing for round number 3 on the PDC Racing League. Lights out, away they will go, and is it a good start made by the pole sitter Dan Blake? It looks like it is. Ian Crosby's away well from 3rd. It's a pretty equal start across the top 3 or 4 rows or so. It's almost side by side for 2nd place, but Leach the inside line, he fends off Ian Crosby. All of this going on though behind the pole sitter Dan Blake, who has made the home shot. He's gone through the first corner in the lead, and everyone more or less safely through the first turn, which was not necessarily what I expected, but it's a pleasant surprise. Blake out of Cascades, they're already trying to break away if he can here from Ben Leach in 2nd. Crosby has a good exit from Cascades and forces Leach across to the inside to defend. Then it's David Ward and Carl Jacquelet, so they're in grid order for the top 5, in fact the top 6, because then it's Chris Knox in 6th position. In fact, everyone inside the top 11 staying where they were on the grid. It's a remarkably safe and sensible first half lap that we've had so far. The drivers all very mindful of the fact that it is easy to make contact here, and if you do so on the opening lap, it will probably cause a bit of a pile-up. They're having a look at the inside of David Ward into the British chicane. That isn't really an overtaking opportunity. It's more about getting the exit from that corner and trying to carry the speed up the hill, which Jacquelet has done well. We're on board now with the Yearone Racing TV car as it goes to the inside of David Ward. This is for 4th position. Onto the brakes into Hislop's. Ward is later on the brakes though. Tries to turn in, loses the rear of the car, and Carl Jacquelet somehow avoids him, but he's been delayed in that. There's some damage actually. Was a tiny bit of contact, I think, as Ward spun, and that's allowed Chris Knox through into 4th place. Replay here on the screen then of what happened. David Ward was super late on the brakes on the outside line. He wanted to get into the corner first, but on the dirtier side of the road, he got a wheel on the grass as well. Just spun straight across in front of Carl Jacquelet, and slight contact made. It's done more damage to Ward's car, in fairness, than Jacquelet's. David has rejoined the track, but down in 23rd place, so extra start for him. Jacquelet is slipping down the order here though. Ben Sharp is up the inside now, so Jacquelet slipped down into 6th, and that could become 7th because Steve Hefford, making his PDC racing debut, is up the inside of both of them in fact. Now 3 abreast into Old Hall Corner is usually a recipe for disaster. Someone will have to back out of it, and it's Jacquelet who gets sideways over the curb through the grass. He's going to lose it right in front of everybody. Surely someone will hit him. They don't, miraculously, but Carl Jacquelet goes from hero to 0 on the opening lap or so, and he's now fallen even further down the field. He rejoins after this latest moment down in about 22nd position. So the orange car there, I think of Freddie Hewitt, had to take avoiding action, but I don't think he ever actually hit him. I think that they avoided contact just about. But it has been a very eventful first lap and a half here. I said it was a cautious and a safe start to the race, after which, though, it has started to get very, very hectic indeed. There are the leaders, though. Dan Blake is not escaping from Ben Leach, but interestingly, Ian Crosby very much going with them. So despite not having the outright pace in qualifying, Ian Crosby is going well. Crosby was just outside of the podium places when we raced here in Season 1. He had a 4th place in Race 1 and a 6th place in Race 2. So Ian Crosby there or thereabouts at Oulton. But as I made the point, it was the very first round of the season, which meant it was the first ever races in the PDC Racing League that took place in Oulton in Season 1. A lot of the drivers were significantly less experienced with this iRacing wheeler than they are now, so maybe we're seeing some real improvement here from Ian. Johnson and Pip Hammond, meanwhile, have got themselves together, which is a nightmare for me because I really struggle to tell these cars apart. Gavin Johnson has the green wheels and Pip Hammond has the yellow wheels, but regardless what colour wheels they've got, they're both going quickly. Johnson's gained 3 places into the top 10 now. He's 8th, having started 11th. Hammond, though, started 13th. He's into 7th place. He's one of the biggest movers in the early stages of the race. Pip Hammond, though, is starting to develop a bit of a train of cars behind him now, with Freddie Hewitt, Marcus Weller, Peter Van Gool all involved. Ian Court here, trying to find a way past Ed Cooper and somebody else as well. Sam Holman, I think that is, that they're racing with. Yeah, Cooper up the inside of Holman. Can Ian go through as well? No, he can't. And it's the 29 car right behind them. Oh, big shunt. Ed Cooper's got around. Oh, that's a shame, and that has taken out all of the cars we were just talking about. Ian Court, Ben Bateman, Sam Holman, Ed Cooper. Cooper is bouncing his way across the grass, but made the rookie mistake there of turning away from the screen just as that contact happened between Holman and Cooper. And, well, that was a spectacular crash for Sam Holman, whose race almost certainly is over now, as the car He lands back on its wheels, but with an awful lot of suspension damage, he fast-tracks to the pit lane to get the car fixed. Also in the pits after early shenanigans are Alex Hall, Ben Bateman, Alan Toon, Paul Warren, Ben Hansey and Lee Vaughan. They're all in the pit lane, which leaves us with about 29 cars still circulating out on track. Of that happened just behind this battle going on for 7th place between Gavin Johnson and Freddie Hewitt. Where's Pip Hammond gone? Hammond's dropped down to 10th place, so Hammond's had a moment somewhere, and Freddie Hewitt, the real beneficiary here in the Fast R machine, the number 17 car, he's now got past both of the white and red RS machines, and Freddie Hewitt now on the tail of Sharp as well, and Sharp looks like he's just been off the road. This is Pip Hammond, so he's already fallen behind Hewitt. Then he gets on the grass coming out of Britain's and loses another place. And I think there's been a moment before that, or he just positions before that. Car off the road at Druids is number 65, which is, I think, back down already, actually, that car. Yeah, Alan Toon, he was late to the show. He's 2 laps down, maybe a pit lane starter. And sadly, he's now on the grass at Druids. Inside there goes Gavin Johnson past Ben Sharp. So Sharp, I think, was recovering from a moment at Knickerbrook. He got front wing damage by the looks of it. So Sharp's car not at 100% health. May explain why Gavin Johnson was able to make that a fairly easy pass. Loneliest man in the race appears to be Chris Knox. He's 5 seconds behind the top 3, but he's 3 seconds ahead of Steve Hefford in 5th position. So the yellow 888 car is in splendid isolation right now, but at the front, look, it is starting to hot up. Ben Leach wants to get the lead away from Dan Blake here. They're side by side for first position, and Dan Blake's on the grass at Island Bend. Oh, the race leader has gone off the road. He saves it, but he loses the lead. He loses second. He falls down to the bottom step of the podium, but that could have been a lot worse, that, for Dan, as he just tried to hang out around the outside for Island Bend, but that is not something that you can do very easily, especially in these cars. The dirty side of the road, it's a fast left-hander anyway. You really need to go through their single file. Number 2 bouncing across the grass there, trying to stay out of everyone's way. That's Marcus Weller going a lap down already as the leading trio head down the hill into the Hislop chicane, and Ben Leach leads the way. Ian Crosby now into 2nd position, and Dan Blake down into 3rd, the position in which he finished both of the races at Oulton Park in Season 1. More with Crosby then, underneath the pedestrian bridge over the top of Clay Hill, past the water tower. The left-hand kink is named after it, and then into Druids Corner, probably the hardest corner on the track. There's some real debate here amongst the drivers as to whether you take the first apex and miss the second, or miss the first one, and then make sure you get that good second apex to get off the corner well. Seeing my timing screen, David Ward and Ed Cooper falling down the order again, by the way. Cooper to 22nd, Ward to 23rd. So they've gone on a bit further down the field. We're seeing a replay here, I think, of what happened to David, and he's been off the track, I'm presuming. He's been hit bad. He's been hit. It's Oulton corner, I think this is happening, so I'm not quite seeing the replay myself, so I'm assuming that's what's happening. David Ward had contact, and that means that he fallen even further away from the field than he was. There he is, out of Druids Corner then, just in front of Kevin McGlone, both of whom have had their dramas today. Doug Hamilton trying to come up the inside as well. Oh, one of the Yearone racing cars is off there and bouncing its way back onto the track. Goes Doug Hamilton now past David Ward. That puts David now down to 23rd place. Kevin Boland's going into the pit lane, and he, I think, it was the number 4 on racing car that was in strife. I was about to say her car there we're seeing through Cascades. It's about half the car now, isn't it? There's no nose left on that car at all. Abby is running in 18th. She's gained 7 positions from where she started in this car, and she could gain more actually, because she's not far behind Ben Best in the 303 machine, who himself has gained 10 places from where he started. His mover officially is Gary Bailey, though. He's just lost a place actually. He was in 20th, having started 32nd. He's just lost out to Doug Hamilton and David Ward, in fact, at the same sort of time. All pulling away there, has had contact. Yeah, I thought I was going to end in contact with Ben Best. She was looking at the inside into the Britain chicane, and as I said earlier on, that's not really a passing opportunity, and that is why, because it's almost impossible to run side by side through there. What's happened? So Ben Best is in front going into the chicane. Abby jinks to the inside. just the tiniest bit of contact, and then the secondary contact as they interlock wheels is what actually spins him around. But in fairness to Abby, I think she backed off then and let him go back through, albeit only temporarily, because she's back on the attack now as they come out of Knickerbrook and over Clay Hill. We're already, would you believe, into the second half of this race, 11 minutes or so gone, and this battle continuing to rage then for 17th position at the moment. As they go. Yeah, so we are now halfway through the race, and Ben Best and Abby Pulling's battle continuing to intensify. You can see David Ward there in the background. He's picking his way back through into 20th position, but he'll be very glad, I think, that the second race grid is not determined by the it's from race 1, because that would definitely on the second race. Now, I was about to mention that Ian Crosby in second had just set his personal best lap, and indeed he did, but he was half a second slower than the race leader Ben Leach. So Leach has now pulled clear to the tune of 2.5 seconds. There you can see the race leader. The battle really is now for second place as Dan Blake is at the inside of a fading Ian Crosby. In fact, he's made the move stick before we even hit the brakes into his lop. So Ian Crosby just slipping backwards a bit now. Has Dan Blake got anything in the second half of this race to catch the race leader? In the replay, it looks like maybe Crosby. Good exit from the chicane. There's a back marker in the way there as well. The number 77 car, well, not in the way, out of the way, but possibly that was also on the minds of those two as they came through. That was Ian Court. So they both go through, but Blake gets himself ahead and into second place. But as I said, he's nearly 3 seconds now behind the race leader. Johnson and Freddie Hewitt have been inseparable throughout this race so far. They're fighting over 6th place right now. The orange car of Freddie Hewitt has it, but Gavin Johnson very much wants to take it from him. They're also catching Steve Hefford there in the red and grey number 72 car, running in 5th position. He's actually lapping quicker than Chris Knox right now, who is 2.8 seconds in front of this lot. Marker is car 98, going a lap down. That's Paul Warren, making too much of a nuisance of himself. Through has gone Hefford, through goes Hewitt, and Gavin Johnson should get through from the exit of the corner as well, which he does. It's down the avenue alongside. Oh no, he hasn't gone through actually. It looked as though he was going through, but didn't quite complete the pass before they reach Cascades, and now the back marker, whoa, goes very, very wide over the grass. Around will go Paul Warren, or saves the spin, but bounces across the grass, and in the end makes it a bit easier for Gavin Johnson to put a lap on him. This battle's still going as well. Ben Best and Abby Pulling side by side. Abby Pulling briefly into 16th place here. She's got her nose in front as they cross the start-finish line. They've been caught by Kevin McGlone though. That car, that number 7 car, the black and red car, is for position. So this is 16th, 17th and 18th places battling hard. You'd think it was the fight for the race lead though, given the intensity of the side-by-side scrapping. But this is what we like to see from this big grid. It's also adding to the level of competition. All Best a bit wide through Cascades, and yeah, that's all the invitation McGlone needed to get up the inside. Can complete the manoeuvre down the lakeside straight. He's got the inside line for Island Bend. Should be able to find a way through, I reckon. 57 here, Charles Kellyman coming through towards Britons. He's in 40th, and he's gained 10 places from where he started. So started in 24th place, but the number 67 car, the Vodafone sort of noughties McLaren livery machine. There are a lot of Formula One liveries or inspired liveries in this championship, it seems. And yeah, that's another one of the very, very well presented cars out there. Hefford has been caught now well and truly by Freddie Hewitt. In fact, Hewitt's up the inside into Lodge Corner, and Freddie Hewitt moves into 5th position. So Freddie Hewitt on a charge now, and goes across the start finish line ahead. We've also got a marker in here as well, or Hewitt actually hasn't completed the manoeuvre yet, and Steve Hefford will try and hang tough around the outside, and indeed he does, and Gavin Johnson doesn't really know where to go now. He really wanted to make it 3 wide, but the avenue is not the place to do that because it really narrows up down into Cascades. Inside line there for Hefford, outside for Hewitt, who sends it into the corner and finds some grip there, finds a way around the outside. Moves up into 5th place now. So Hewitt 5th, Hefford 6th, and Johnson 7th. This is much more like it for Gavin Johnson, though. Starting to get a sense now of why he was a championship contender in Season 1. Just didn't, in the end, lack the consistent race-winning pace of people like Dan Blake to actually be able to take the championship, but he's about to take 6th place here, I think, from Hefford. Maybe not here. He had the tighter line out of the Shell hairpin, but as we've said a few times, he's going to be running side by side into the Britain chicane. Just want to avoid those tyres on the apexes of the corners. Same for the Hislop chicane coming up next. Getting a great idea here of the rise and fall, the elevation here of the Oulton Park circuit, all masterfully recreated here in iRacing. And it really is an attack on the senses, really. Oulton Park. Whoops, that was moment there for Hefford. Got a wheel on the grass turning into Knickerbrook corner. Very, very easy to do. Costs him momentum up the hill. Gavin Johnson tries to pull to the inside towards Druids, but that's another place where you have to be very, very brave to make an overtake. Pulls back in behind, but there are more and more mistakes coming from Steve Hefford here. He runs wide now out of Druids, and Gavin Johnson is going to have to find this line this time, I think, into Lodge corner. Into the brakes. Can he go through? He slides around. He gets into the corner. Gavin Johnson does now take over the position, but they've already lost a second to Freddie Hewitt, so Hewitt looks as though he's going to be able to pull clear. The second going on here. Now, Dan Blake did start to catch the race leader, but he's just lost a big chunk of time. I think he might have actually been off at Old Horn Corner because Dan Blake was further ahead of Ian Crosby than this. I'm sure he was when they crossed the start-finish line, but Crosby's right back with him now. The blue and grey car in front of them is Sam Holman. He's a lap down, so his leader is a lot further ahead of them than that. 5.2 seconds now, the margin between Ben Leach, the leader, and Dan Blake in second position. But will Dan be able to hang on to this second place? That's the question. Ian Crosby is definitely hoping not. One stays out of the way. Kane, they go once again, and on board now with Crosby. Slides his way, bounces his way over the curbs. Crosby, who was the... he scored 26 points from the first race at Okayama last time out. Race that was won by Dan Blake, and then Crosby only managed 5th place in race 2. And really, where Crosby lost points was in qualifying. He only had 1 point out of the 2 qualifying sessions. Pulls his way over the curb there, coming out of Knickerbrook corner. He head now back up towards Druids once more. He had a time over into the final 3 or 4 minutes of racing now. The Specsavers car for Ian Crosby. He needs to get on with this if he's going to get through. To say as well that Ben Leach is not just escaping because these two are battling, he is also by far the fastest man on the track. He just set the fastest lap last time around, 151.43. There is Ben Leach, who looks set to recreate victory from Season 1, throwing the car into Old Horn Corner. It's an absolute joy to watch a driver who is at one with their machine around this place, because in cars that don't have that much grip, and that's definitely the case with these cars, it's all about keeping the momentum up through the corners, and to do that you have to be comfortable with a car that is sideways, and you wouldn't necessarily think about driving a single seater sideways, but that seems to be the driving style that these cars react the best to. If you can throw them in, get the rear end out a little bit, and just have a nice four-wheel drift through the corner. There you can see the angle that Ben Leach is dancing the car at through Island Bend. Turns now into Shell, where the banking helps keep the car tight to the inside of the track. The first of the chicanes. Behind them, they're still half a second behind Blake and Crosby, so we're not missing anything there. Still 4th, Freddie Hewitt still 5th. You can see there in the background the visual gap to second place. They are now definitely heading into the closing stages of the race. It's been a typical Oulton Park race, really. The start was vital, and although Blake had the early lead, Ben Leach was able to find a way past, and in doing so, Blake ended up on the grass, and that might just have cost Dan a shot at the victory. Leach has been quicker in this race than everybody else, in fairness. The lap time's definitely suggesting so, but maybe if Dan could have stayed with him, it might have been a different story. It's now using the curb there. That's not something that you see an awful lot of, and you can see why, because it kicked him a bit wider out of the corner than he wanted to be. Down into the braking zone at Lodge Corner to complete another lap. And Johnson has not yet given up hopes of getting into the top 5 either. He has caught Freddie Hewitt. This gap was up to about a second lap or so ago, but as we're about to go on to the final lap of the race, he's all over the back of the number 17 Fast R machine, forcing it to drive defensively, in fact, into Lodge Corner. So Freddie Hewitt is really having to work hard to hold on to his top 5 place now. Gavin Johnson trying to get the wide line into Lodge Corner to carry the speed off it. Didn't quite work. Freddie Hewitt, who did manage to get a podium at Okayama in the second race last time out. He is not quite going to make the podium this time, it would seem, but a top 5 is still a nice, handy result. I'm saying he got a podium, he didn't. He got 5th place for race number 2. Okayama back with the leaders, or 2nd place even. Dan Blake now only just over half a lap away from the checkered flag. Is there anything that Ian Crosby can do to get past him? Shell, this whole sequence of corners up here, it's very difficult to pass. You have to try and set yourself up really for something either down into the chicane at Hislops or at Lodge Corner at the end of the lap. Look at the amount of speed though that Crosby takes through there. He has really got that Britain chicane sussed, and he's right back on the gearbox now, Dan Blake, as they crest the hill. The battle for 2nd place then, with less than a lap to go here at Oulton Park, and it's going to be another one of those Oulton Park last lap deciders, I think. So many races over the years have gone right down to Lodge Corner. It is one of those racetracks where the final corner on the track is probably the best overtaking opportunity, and it really does deliver lots of grandstand finishes. Crosby there didn't get a good exit from Nicker Brooks, so he was much better through the first. Dan Blake maybe now just about has broken far enough ahead to hang on to 2nd place. There's Ben Leach though, he's well and truly ahead of that group. There's no challenging the Oulton Park Season 1 race winner. He's about to get his 2nd Oulton Park victory in the PDC Racing League. He crosses the start-finish line and wins round number 3 of Season 2. Swerves across the line in delight to celebrate. It's nose to tail for 2nd, but Blake just about hangs on. Ian Crosby will settle for 3rd position. Then we wait for about 10 seconds or so before the loneliest man in the race, Chris Knox, comes through. There he goes. And then for 5th, it is going to be Hewitt. So Hewitt just about keeps Gavin Johnson behind by 0.3 of a second in the end, with Steve Hefford making a really good debut in 7th. Peter Van Gool was 8th. Those two were just 16/100ths of a second apart at the line. 9th place for Pip Hammond and 10th position for them Southgate. So good racing there throughout the pack. And I have to say, driving standards in general, pretty impressive there. There was the odd bit of contact, but nothing, I'd say it was certainly an improvement upon Okayama the last time. We're all a bit concerned about the level of contact we might see here at such a tight circuit and a track where it is so hard to run side by side. But we saw some brilliant battling there that did not end in cars flying into the air and out of the race. Kevin McGlone, he's down in 18th place. Abby Pulling is 6 seconds in front of him. She's just about to cross the start-finish line. In fact, just has crossed the start-finish line in 17th place. McGlone the 18th, and then Best and David Ward will round up the top 20. Ward, definitely the big loser there. He started up in the top 5, ended up finishing in 20th position. So Ward is not going to be best pleased with that. Doesn't do his championship hopes any good either. David Ward, I remind you, was 2nd place in the championship, arriving here at Oulton Park, but he almost certainly won't be now. I'll try and work out the points between races if I can, but Dan Blake finishing 2nd there, that definitely helped him. He will still manage to score 18 points for 2nd place. Of course, he was up there in the top 3 on the grid as well, so it's a nice points haul there for the championship leader. Then we can now have a look, I think, in a moment at the provisional results, but I didn't see too much cause for concern, at least as far as the leaders are concerned. Definitely going to be Ben Leach that is claiming the victory. One could touch him in the end. Leach then with the win. 2nd for Dan Blake, 3rd for Ian Crosby, with Knox in 4th, and Freddie Hewitt rounding out the top 5. An impressive drive from him there. Great battle that he had with Gavin Johnson, with Steve Hefford 7th, Peter Van Gool 8th, Pip Hammond 9th, and Adam Southgate to round out the top 10. In 11th was Chris Nyland, 12th for Roger Morton, then Dale Bennison, Charles Kellyman, and Craig Jones round out the top 15. Carl Jacquelet, a big disappointment there as well after his spin that he had at Old Hall Corner. And he was involved in that contact as well, wasn't he, with David Ward on the first lap. Ends up in 16th position, so no points for him. Abby Pulling is 17th, Kevin McGlone 18th, Ben Best and David Ward to round out the top 20. So neither Jacquelet or Ward came out of that one particularly well. Doug Hamilton's 21st, Kevin Boland 22nd, Sam Holman 23rd. Then the last of the finishers, Ian Court, Ben Bateman, Alan Toon, Ben Hansey, Marcus Weller, and Ben Sharp, who definitely we expected more from. Non-finishing that race, unfortunately, were Alex Hall, Paul Warren, Ed Cooper, Gary Bailey, Ben Bateman, and Eve Vaughan. But the race victory, no doubt about it, that went the way of Dan Blake. So, what am I talking about? Ben Leach. I'm so used to saying Dan Blake has won the race. He didn't, of course. It was Ben Leach that won the race. Dan Blake in 2nd, and Ian Crosby coming home in 3rd position. And those three really were the class of the field. No one could quite keep up with them in that one. they have, as a result, been able to take the big points from race number 1 at Oulton Park. But there's another race still to come, don't forget. The 30-minute feature race will be coming up fairly shortly. The drivers will move over into the second session now. There'll be another quick practice session, but then we'll be straight into qualifying with the second race coming up shortly after that. Now, the drivers have been told that we'd like to chat to the podium finishers after the race and that they're to make their way to the commentary box so that we can do so. But no one has yet appeared, and we'll have to move on to race number 2 very shortly. They're all so keen to go racing that they sometimes, I think, to get about coming and speaking to us for some podium interviews, but it would be nice to hear from Ben Leach, Dan Blake and Ian Crosby if we could. It looks as though we might have to wait a little while before they do make the journey to the commentary box. A chance maybe to remind everyone of some of the racing that's going to be coming up on the Yearone Racing TV platform in the next few days, and it is busy. It's a busy time at the moment for Yearone Racing TV. Lots of good racing coming up, and the PDC Racing Series just a small part of the ever-expanding portfolio for Yearone Racing. It's covering everything from single-seaters, sports cars, touring cars, even cricket these days. So Monday nights for the Formula 4 iRacing Trophy at 7:30. The BSR MX-5 Pro Series Tuesday nights at 8 o'clock UK time. Power Max Racing E-Series, that's at 10 to 8 on a Wednesday evening. You can have your Thursdays off, but then make sure you're back again next Friday for the PDC Racing Series. Cricket on Saturdays, 1 o'clock in the afternoon for some virtual cricket on Yearone Racing TV. Evenly CC versus Silverstone CC on Saturday, so tomorrow that is, and then Sunday a very special event as well, the Excite Energy NHS Heroes charity race at 6:45. There was a similar charity event for the NHS last Sunday. This one a different event, but one that is equally as exciting and definitely worth watching as we try and raise some money for our hard-working, deserving National Health Service. So a busy schedule for the Yearone Racing TV broadcasts, and part of that, as I said, is the PDC Racing League. Race 1 has been completed, and we've got a couple of drivers that have arrived. Now, I don't think we have Ben Leach, unfortunately, but it looks like we definitely have Dan Blake. So shall we drag Dan in for a chat then? Our second place finisher is here. And congratulations, another podium finish. Not quite the win this time, but you did lead until that moment you had up at Island Bend.
Yes, that was an interesting moment. I wanted to give Ben room down the inside, and I think I just sort of was too preoccupied in giving Ben the room and ended up going wide, but managed to save the car. Didn't lose too much time, and Ben was rapid. I wasn't going to catch him, I think, regardless. Ben is a master in this car. Raced against him last season, and it just wasn't to be. But Ian made his mistake at Cascades, and I got second. And really, even at this early stage, I'm just thinking about the championship.
Yeah, that's right, because you arrived here with that points lead over David Ward. David had a spin on lap 1, which I'm sure you saw behind you. So from that point, did you kind of know that anywhere on the podium would really work out quite well points-wise?
I wasn't aware that David had a spin. I was just sort of concentrating on my own race, and I just saw that we were pulling away from Chris Knox. I never really saw what was going on behind, but after what happened in the second race, made a bit of a rash moment last week. It was just all about just calming it down a bit and just trying to get the points on the board, and I wasn't going to take anything too drastic. And from then on, it's just sort of driving my own race, really, and I got the second place, so I'm thrilled with that.
You took a bit of stick last week for that moment that you had in race 2, also for the moment you had in qualifying, and so you must have had a pressure on your shoulders coming into tonight, because qualifying here is really important, isn't it? You've got to try and get yourself somewhere on the first couple of rows to have a real shot at the race win.
Yeah, qualifying, especially around here, as you say, it's a real challenge. I've done it in real life last year, and 5 Club actually commentated that one on when we were recently here. So I'm just trying to take a bit of my real world knowledge and sort of bring it into the sim. And I know as well just how important it is to bang those laps in. You only get 2 real laps, I think, around here in qualifying. So it's just about making the most of it and doing what you can.
Well, you didn't do too badly out of it. A nice second place finish, and another qualifying session coming up very shortly. So we'll let you go, but well done on the podium.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Andy. Enjoy the second race.
We will, I'm sure. Well, there you go, Dan Blake then. It's still your championship leader, provisionally after race number 1. I think that is it for podium interviews, unfortunately. I don't think we've been able to get hold of anybody else. So what we'll do is we will have a very short break. We will be back momentarily with the second qualifying session and the second race of the night. If you think that because it's 10 minutes longer, it'll be 10% less exciting, well, that is not going to be the case, because it was race 2 at Okayama last week that was the real thriller. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a few minutes' time with more racing action from the PDC Racing League. Round number 4 of the PDC Racing League here from Oulton Park is just a few moments away. Thank you for joining us for part 2 of your evening entertainment. And entertainment, definitely the right word to describe what we've seen so far. It was a very entertaining first race indeed that was won by Ben Leach. Dan Blake was in second position, with Ian Crosby coming home in third, and those three really kind of ran in the top 3 all race, but in various orders, because Blake had the lead early on before Leach got up the inside at Island Bend, and we heard from Dan Blake. He said that he wanted to make sure there was no contact and left Ben too much room. Ben went through, Dan went on the grass, fell down to third, then got himself back into second again in the late going, ahead of Ian Crosby, whilst Chris Knox and Freddie Hewitt handed out the top 5, all of which means that provisionally Dan Blake holds on to his championship lead and extends it now by quite a bit. He's already about 29 points clear of David Ward. I think has somehow held on to second place in the championship, mainly because people like Kyle Jacquelet didn't score in that race. Kyle Power not here tonight. Adam Southgate, who was 5th in the championship, only finished in 10th. Pip Hammond, who was 6th, only finished in 9th. So a lot of Dan Blake's nearest championship rivals have ended up finishing quite a long way down the order in that first race. And thus, he has been able to really capitalise on that to extend points margin. But as we've seen time and time again, second race of the night is where things really start to get interesting. We have another qualifying session coming up in just a few minutes' time, and that will decide the grid for race 2. It's also worth championship points, 10 points for pole, 8 for second, then 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 for the rest of the top 8 on the grid. We should move into the race as well, where 35 points are on offer for winning one of these races. It's a jump of 10 points based on last year, so it's a slightly more generous point system now. Top 15 finishers will score points as well, so you don't have to be great as far up the field to get those championship points, and that keeps things nice and wide open. So practice underway now with the second practice session of the night. David Ward, fastest in this session, and he's definitely someone that needs to bounce back from that first race. Had that spin down at Hislop's, battling away with Carl Jacquelet for 4th position. Lost control, spun right to the back of the field. Involved in a couple of incidents as well. Chris Knox, we were following into the pit lane after a moment of his own, but Chris Knox finished 4th in race 1. He's doing all right for himself at the moment in the points. Here's Carl Jacquelet, who had tangled with the David Ward car in the previous race. And he, in the Yearone Racing TV car, is 6th quickest in practice right now. So he has good speed here in Oulton. But he had good speed at Dockeye Armour as well. And Jacquelet definitely someone we expected to be in contention for the championship in Season 2. And the early signs definitely fairly promising. Marcus Weller, he's inside the top 7 right now. Dan Blake's just put his first lap of the session in, go into 6th position. Time so far, David Ward is a 152.32, which compares to his lap from the previous race of a sort of mid 51. So bet maybe straight off the bat in a practice session, they're not quite down to lap record pace, but of them enjoying their time here at Oulton Park. Some lovely scenic views as well here, some aerial shots of the Parkland circuit, which really is, I know I'm biased, but it is one of the most scenic racetracks in the country, and a nice fast flowing circuit as well. A lot of people think of Oulton as being quite tight and technical and low speed, but it's actually a very, very fast track. The average speed around this place is remarkably high. The cars are about 110 miles an hour down there at the end of the Lakeside Straight, and they reach a similar sort of speed up at the top of Clay Hill too. Really, there are only a couple of properly slow corners. The hairpin they just went through is one. The first chicane here at Britain's, the average speed is pretty high. They're doing about 60 miles an hour there through the middle of it. Accelerate back away over the hill. The braking zone down at Hislop's though is a bit more significant, so this is one of the slower parts of the track. Johnson we're following here, a man who's got years and years of experience racing here around Oulton Park in Porsches mainly. He's had of his recent success in the BRSCC Porsche 924 Championship. Adam Southgate, who's racing with us, a Porsche Boxster champion in the BRSCC's series. And Adam Southgate was just inside the top 10 in the opening race of the night. We'll watch to see whether or not he can repeat the sort of performance that he had last time at Okayama, because Southgate got himself a place finish in race number 2 at Okayama, and he was in the top 10 in both races. Southgate, here he is. He's got David Ward behind him though. Ward was the fastest man in the session, but it's changed a bit now. Ben Bateman has gone fastest, and now Gavin Johnson beats him to a 1:52.0. So Johnson goes top, Bateman second. Abby Pulling was quickest when I actually started that sentence, with Dan Blake next in line. David Ward now rounding out the top 5. There's Dan Blake, the corner at which it all got away from him in race 1 with that slide out onto the grass. On Racing TV, Alpha Live liveried car. He's on the black stuff this time. It's 5th fastest in the session. Chris Knox in 6th position. The session has concluded, so we now move in then to serious business of qualifying for the second time of the night. 5 minutes the drivers have to set a time, and that works out at 2 flying laps. By the time you get round to the end of your outlap, you will only really get 2 opportunities to set a fast lap time. A scrum there to get out of the pit lane as everyone tries to onto the track as quickly as they can. Dan Blake always is one of the first drivers out on track, I've noticed. It seems only a couple of cars in front of him. Freddie Hewitt is one of them by the looks of it. Freddie's been rapid. If I know it's not Freddie, it's the other orange car. It is Adam Southgate. New car has got out of the pit lane quickly as well. Black car Marcus Weller, and Blake will want to try and get himself to the front of the queue here so that he's in clean air. There is Freddie Hewitt, the orange Fast Star car, just behind David Ward, and it's Jack Lett behind them, or is it another one of the one cars? I think it might be. No, it is Jack Lett. And then number 71, Pip Hammonds. That's a quick group of drivers there. They are all mired in amongst traffic. Oh, and David Ward has just had a very spectacular half spin as he tried to go around the outside of a slightly slower car there, and ends up taking the shortcut through the Britain chicane as a result. But it was that or going to the barriers, and that was definitely not what he wanted to do. So, dear, well, David Ward's had some interesting altercations at chicanes here in Oulton Park tonight. This is the one. And speaking of chicanes and things going wrong, more drama there. Gavin Johnson's been involved in a spin. The blue car there, number 26, is the car that David Ward was trying to avoid. And it looks like that car, yeah, so there's been a tangle there. Johnson's got around 293 Ben Bateman, and the 26 of Douglas Hamilton also caught up. You might see it better here. So there's Hamilton. So, right, around goes Bateman, then around goes Johnson, and then goes Hamilton. So actually, it was 3 separate spins, I think, wasn't it? I don't think there was any contact. 3 cars all going around, and that is the effect of cold tyres. Until you get the temperature into those rear tyres, you will have no confidence whatsoever that the rear of the car is going to stick. And the other interesting thing as well, once that's happened to you, even though you know it was on an outlap and you know why it happened because you had cold tyres, but I guarantee each and every one of those drivers, the next time they go into that chicane, regardless of whether they've got temperature in the tyres or not, will all be a bit more circumspect as they try and make sure they don't do the same thing again. So that can really knock your confidence when you have a spin on cold tyres. Someone else having a moment in the background, another one of the RS liveried cars. Oh, Southgate with a huge moment through Island Bend there. These drivers are now all on their first of what should be 2 flying laps. They've got themselves to the front of the queue as they wanted. So it's Dan Blake, then Adam Southgate, then Chris Knox. These are the 3 drivers leading the queue around. There is Chris Knox in the 888 car. It's 1980s Lotus Formula 1 inspired livery. Blake visibly is getting away from those 2, which tells me that he's going a bit quicker, certainly, than Adam Southgate is on this lap. Goes into the chicane, clips the first curb, runs over the second one as well. That was inch perfect through there. Then you want to get right up to the grass there on the left-hand side as you turn into Knickerbrook without actually getting a wheel on it. And he did that pretty much perfectly. I think then was over the top of Hilltop. So anything in and around the low 152s or the high 151s is going to be there, I'd say, for pole position. Oh, that was a bit wide through Druids, though. Less than ideal, not quite as wide as Chris Knox, though, who went off there in the last qualifying session, I seem to recall. Slightly less spectacular this time. He's overtaken Adam Southgate on this lap, so that might have held him up anyway. Blake then, out of Lodge Corner, he will be the first driver by the looks of it to set a lap time in the qualifying session. He's got just over a minute left on the clock to set another one as well. Gets to pole position, of course he does, because he's the only one to have set a time. 1:52.68 is a little slower than I expected though, so I think we will see improvements on lap number 2. Gator Knox are not registering lap time, presumably because they went off the track on that lap, so they maybe have had their lap time disallowed for exceeding track limits. That's interesting. They're really going to have the pressure on now in lap number 2. Freddie Hewitt has gone second though, David Ward to third, Marcus Weller and Gavin Johnson 4th and 5th right now. We are following now. So Ben Leach was our race 1 winner, and he also did not register his first lap time, so I wonder whether we've had a few drivers exceeding track limits and getting lap times lost, and really puts the pressure on now for the second lap of the session. Ben Leach though knows how to handle the pressure. Out of the hairpin, halfway round the 0.7 mile Oulton Park International Circuit, no one directly in front of him, no one directly behind, so he's in some nice clean air. He can get his head down and focus just on hitting all the apexes, getting all the braking points right, hitting his marks, doesn't have to worry about getting past other cars. Behind the Southgate and Knox duo, both also desperately trying to set a lap time. So only 14 drivers actually set a time the first time around. The rest of them either never made it out on time, or they exceeded track limits and had the lap times disallowed. The checkered flag's out now as well, so whatever this lap time is, they will have to settle for it. And if they go off track again, they find themselves not setting a lap time at all. It looks like about half the grid are in that boat right now. Leach over the curbs there through Druids Corner. Dan Blake, you can see in the distance, is just going through Lodge Corner. Has the pole right now by 3/4 of a second. 1:52.68 is the time to beat, but I think we will start seeing some improvements. Deep breath. Here they come. Dan Blake comes across the start-finish line. Is it an improvement? Yes, it is. A 1:52.46 is now the benchmark. Here comes Chris Knox. He goes second at 53.25, and Adam Southgate beats him with a 53.15, but Ben Leach beats the lot of them. Ben Leach is unstoppable tonight at Oulton Park. He's already won the first race of the night, and he's now gone to pole position for race 2 with a 1:52.01. 4.5 of a second, that is quicker than Dan Blake second, and Ben Sharp, who comes up into third. So both of the Bens going really, really well, and Ben Sharp there in the second of the year 1 racing cars is into the podium places. Adam Southgate 4th, Chris Knox 5th, Freddie Hewitt 6th, Peter Van Gool, Carl Jacquelette, David Ward and Marcus Weller to round out the top 10. Gavin Johnson and Pip Hammond should be 2 to watch for. They've qualified together, except they now get split by Kevin Boland. Johnson 11th, Hammond 13th, and Boland slips in between them. Ian Court 14th. The rest of them all coming through now as well to see the checkered flag. What a flurry of activity that was at the end of the session there, but it was Ben Leach that came through. It looked as though Dan Blake was going to get the pole position. It didn't happen though, and Ben Leach has been able to get the pole. In fact, he did get the pole position for the race that he won here. He won this equivalent race basically in season 1, the second race of the night. Won it from pole position then too. Tonight he's already got a race victory, having not started on pole. Let's see whether or not he can do it from the very front of the grid this time around. So great stuff there in the qualifying session. This race is a bit longer, like we said, 30 minutes is the distance, so they maybe position isn't going to be quite as important at the start, but if you get mired in a battle for about 4th or 5th place, by the time you get through, leaders are probably going to be several seconds up the road, and it's not easy to close those sort of gaps given how quick everybody is. So you really want to be in the first couple of rows realistically to have a shot at the win. Be impressed there with Ben Sharp's lap time and with Adam Southgate, who came through the 45 car to 4th position on the grid. Let's run you through then that grid for race number 2 of the night. Ben Leach and Dan Blake, the top 2 from race 1, and the top 2 on the grid for race number 2. Ben Sharp is 3rd, Adam Southgate 4th, with Chris Knox and Freddie Hewitt sharing the 3rd row, ahead of Peter Van Gool and Carl Jacquelette on the 4th, with David Ward and Marcus Weller to round the top 10 on row 5. Row 6 for Gavin Johnson and Kevin Boland, the 7th row for Pip Hammond and Ian Court, then Sam Holman and Craig Jones on the 8th row, Roger Morton and Ed Cooper on row 9, Bill Benison and Gary Bailey on the 10th row of the grid. Then it's Charles Kellyman and Kevin McLeod, Ben Bateman and Paul Warren, ahead of Steve Hefford and Ian Crosby. So Ian Crosby all the way down in 26th place. I wonder if he never got to set a time. track limits infringements. He's one to watch. So too Abby Pulling from 27th. Two quick drivers there. Chris Nyland is 28th. And the 15th row of the grid is shared by Ben Best and Ben Bateman. Then it's Alex Hall and Lee Vaughan, Doug Hamilton and Ben Hansey. And to right at the very back. The two drivers definitely to watch for there, Ian Crosby and Abby Pulling, 26th and 27th respectively. So we'll keep an eye to see how much progress those two can make. And Pip Hammond and Dan Blake, the last two drivers to make it onto the grid. So they're here. We will go racing for 30 laps. And, well, Dan Blake really will have one target here, and that is to himself ahead of Ben Leach as early as possible. If you give Ben Leach a small gap at the front of the field, let him get out there in clean air, it's going to be almost impossible to catch, I think. So Dan Blake, the black and blue car number one for the reigning champion, leader on the inside of row one. He also knows, though, that he's got this points lead. He's extended it after race one. As we approach the halfway mark of season two, doesn't really need to be taking a huge risk here just to get another race win. The red lights go on then, ready to go racing at Oulton Park for the second time tonight in the PDC Racing League. Ben Leach and Dan Blake, the top two from race one, share the front row of the grid. The lights go out, away they go, and Dan Blake makes a good start from the inside of row number one. Is it good enough to get alongside Ben Leach? It might be. Here comes his teammate Ben Sharp as well. He's ahead of Adam Southgate for third, side by side for the lead into Old Hall Corner. Blake on the inside, Leach on the outside, still side by side, and Dan Blake is determined to find a way through if he can. But what does Ben Sharp do in all of this? Does he join in? Does he follow his teammate? Blake has got the lead into Cascades Corner, though. Here comes Leach back up the inside. Ben Sharp is sideways around the outside and hands his third place back to Adam Southgate. And Chris Knox is also trying to carry the speed down the back straight. There's a crash further back, though. Ed Cooper is involved. Sam Holman. Dale Bennison's gone around at the inside of Cascades as well. And Craig Jones, I think, has lost some ground in all of that too. So lots of action towards the back of the field. At the front, Adam Southgate has gone off now. Southgate down to 13th place, I can see on the timing screen. Don't know what happened to him, but Adam Southgate, unfortunately, out of the top five as a result of an off up an island bend. It's Dan Blake, though, that leads the way. Ben Leach second. Chris Knox is into third, ahead of Ben Sharp fourth. Then it should have been Southgate. It's now the other orange car of Freddie Hewitt that inherits fifth position, ahead of Peter Van Gool, Carl Jacquelet. David Ward is into eighth already. Then Kevin Boland and Marcus Weller to round out the top 10. That was not really what we expected, because Ben Leach did not get as good a start as Dan Blake, and he's a bit wide there through Knickerbrook Corner. And now here comes Chris Knox for second place, side by side then for P2. And this is exactly what Dan Blake wants to see in his wing mirrors, because if these two run side by side through Druids Corner, they're going to really hold each other up. That's exactly what they are going to do. And Knox goes through on the inside, hits the curb, gets sideways right in front of Ben Leach, who tries to fight back out of the corner. Keep an eye to Ben Sharp as well, right behind them, trying to get himself into a podium place. Knox, though, has his nose in front as they go into Lodge Corner. Up the inside goes Leach. He's later on the brakes. He gets second place back, but they're already a full second behind the race leader as a result of the momentum they're losing from this battle. And here comes Freddie Hewitt as well. Four cars. You could throw a handkerchief over the lot of them as they cross the start-finish line, and they're all trying to be in second place as they start lap number two. Ben Leach, surely he can't save this one. He's on the grass. He does save it. Brilliant car control from Ben Leach. He loses all of his speed, but it looked like he was going to spin right in front of the pack there as they came out of Old Hall Corner. Just carried a bit too much speed into the first turn on cold rear tyres, and that was nearly a humongous accident that could have wiped out all of Dan Blake's opposition. As it is, they survive without contact, and it's Knox that goes second, it's Sharp in third, Freddie Hewitt with a brilliant showing in fourth, and Ben Leach into fifth, but he's off the road. Ben Leach, the race one winner, is in all sorts of trouble here. He's a bit flustered, I think, by the fact that he's not leading the race, and he has bounced his way back on, still in fifth, but look at the queue of cars behind him. Meanwhile, it's all changed again in second place. Ben Sharp is P2 now. Freddie Hewitt third. I think Chris Knox ran wide coming out of the Shell hairpin, possibly because he was watching his mirrors to see what was going on with Ben Leach. But Chris Knox has gone from second down to fourth, and all of this dicing is allowing Dan Blake to pull away now to the tune of nearly 2 seconds as they drop down the hill into the Hislop chicane for the second time. Race 1 had a pretty calm first lap or so. Race 2, though, has kicked off well and truly right from the word go, and it's 2 of the Alpha Live livery Year 1 Racing TV drivers out in front. Dan Blake with the lead, Ben Sharp in second, trying to escape from the side-by-side Freddie Hewitt and Chris Knox behind them. Chris Knox having a look to the inside into Druid's corner. This is really brave stuff. He went through on the inside of Ben Leach here a lap ago, and this time it is Freddie Hewitt that he's overtaken for third place. He goes through, runs a bit wide on the exit though, and so Hewitt tries to fight back. Leach has caught them up again as well. The three of them starting to delay each other. Here comes Leach on the inside of one, maybe two of them. Almost runs into the back of Chris Knox, but he succeeds in A, avoiding him, and B, getting past Freddie Hewitt and back into the top four now then for the man that started on the front row of the grid, on pole position in fact. Hewitt though trying to fight back at him here around the outside into Old Hall corner, and now he's on the dirty side of the road, gets a bit sideways. Car number 7 comes out of the pit lane after some repair work. Meanwhile, that is Kevin McGlone. And Southgate's gone a lap down as well, so he must have been in the pit lane. So whatever happened to Southgate, we're going to replay of if we can, up at Isle of Bend a lap or so ago, has put him a lap down. Paul Warren, Pip Hammond, unfortunately, has been in the pit lane. Kevin McGlone, Doug Hamilton, and Ian Crosby appears to have been, in fact, he's still in the pit lane now. What happened coming through Cascades? It's going to be a midfield melee, and not too clear for me what's going on here, but it's clear. Oh, round went Hammond, and then the rest kind of piled in, and now, yeah, I'm seeing Hammond pointing the wrong way in the middle of the road coming out of Cascades. So Pip Hammond's losing it initially. Yeah, just loses it under braking. Very easy to do. It's a bumpy braking zone. There's a big lump in the road just as you hit the brakes into Cascades, and on cold tyres it's very easy to lose the rear, which he did, and unfortunately doing that on lap 1. The rest of them were all compiling in. Ben Bateman has also been involved there in the contact, and he, as a result, has pitted. One of several drivers taken out of contention here on the first lap, and that's always a risk at Oulton Park, just because of how tight it is. If it goes wrong for one driver, as done here for Kevin McGlone, we're seeing, then it will continue to go wrong probably for everyone else behind them. And that's why that save that Ben Leach made at Old Hall Corner earlier on, so impressive, because had he lost control of the car there, Knox and Ben Sharp and Freddie Hewitt would all have piled into him, and they could have all been taken immediately out of the race. So was a really, really important save that for Ben Leach to avoid a big pile-up. Back to that battle now for second place then. Knox, Sharp and Leach is now the order, which almost certainly wasn't when we left them, but it's changing almost by the corner. They are dropping Freddie Hewitt slightly now in 5th. He's in danger of losing the toe. In fact, he probably already has. Carl Jacquelet, though, is nearly 2 seconds behind him in 6th place. David Ward is now up to 7th. And Marcus Weller 8th, Kevin Boland 9th, and Peter Van Gool in 10th. Now, I said I was going to keep an eye on Abby Pulling. She's gained 13 positions as Ben Sharp here goes for second place on the inside of Chris Knox. So we'll get to Abby Pulling in a minute. This is into Isle of Bend, side by side, and Knox is going to be on the grass, surely. Has he kept it on the road? No, not quite. He bounces his way back on, and through will go Ben Sharp. Round the outside, attempts to go Ben Leach. Sharp actually runs out very wide anyway, and Knox nearly gets him back. All of this has brought Freddie Hewitt back onto their tail, and here's the replay. Well, there's quite a bit going on there, actually. So Sharp got sideways. That's why Knox ran wide. And then as he was sideways, he got run into by Ben Leach, who's lost the end of his nose cone there. All three of them were having their own dramas, really. And it's continuing now as they come down the hill into Hislops, because Freddie Hewitt's going around the outside of Ben Leach there into the chicane. And that's a really nice move. He moves into 4th place then. Carl Jacquelet and David Ward are now on their tail too. So whilst Sharp and Knox escape in front of them, they've been joined by another 2 cars. It's still a 4-way fight now. But instead of being for 2nd, it's really for 4th place, maybe 5th, because Ben Leach is getting absolutely beaten up in this race. Carl Jacquelet is up the inside now into Druid's corner, and he will go through. David Ward possibly won't be that much further behind. So have to wonder whether or not Ben Leach had some damage here in the early stages. I know he's got that damage to the nose now, having run into the back of Ben Sharp, but I wonder whether maybe there was some contact on the first lap that we didn't see, because this has not been the same Ben Leach, I'll get that right before the end of the night, Ben Leach that we saw in race number 1, because in race 1 he was unstoppable. Once he got the lead away from Dan Blake, he just disappeared up the road, but right now he's going backwards, not forwards. On board with Ben then through Old Hall Corner, and far from an iRacing expert, so I'm struggling to see if there's anything obviously wrong with the car's handling. He's definitely got that damage, yeah, so we're seeing the front left of the wing is missing. Now, was that from the contact with Sharp, or was that from something earlier on, I wonder? Because, yeah, that front wing is bent inwards on the left-hand side. And then he hit the back of Ben Sharp and lost some bodywork a lap ago up at this part of the circuit through Ireland. And, well, but he always seemed to be losing speed before then, didn't he? He's kind of settled in now in 6th position, but his lap times are not very good. His best lap is a 1:56.59. The best lap of the race, set unsurprisingly by the race leader because he's all on his own, Dan Blake, is a 52.7, so he's about 4 seconds off the pace of the race leader right now. A lot of that because he hasn't yet had a clean lap without going side by side with someone, I suppose. But, it is indicative that there might be some sort of a problem here for Ben Leach. All catching... there's been more changing here because Ben Sharp was second half a lap ago. He's now 4th, so Sharp's had a moment now. Really wants to finish in second here. Here's what happened. Runs wide out of shell, and Chris Knox was following him, I think, there. They were both taking the same line. Knox loses slightly less time and goes through, and Freddie Hewitt says, thank you very much. I will gladly move into a podium position, and he does so, although he might lose it again now into Druid's corner because Sharp is fighting back around the outside. Knox has got himself into P2. Hewitt hangs on to 3rd, and here goes Ben Leach back up the inside of Carl Jacquelet. Told you race 2 was likely to be even better than race 1, and as we saw last week at Okayama, the longer feature race is more than delivering on action here. This has been some truly fantastic racing for 2nd position. They're 6 seconds behind the leader, but I almost don't care about that because it's such an entertaining scrap going on, and any one of about 6 or 7 drivers could still get into this 2nd place. Has it at the moment. Ben Sharp goes up the inside of Hewitt for 3rd at Oulton corner. He almost tried to pull back alongside down the avenue. In the end, he pulls back in the slipstream. Ben Leach is still trying to get past Carl Jacquelet. He's been trying to do this for about half a lap and still can't get past him. That damage to the nose of the number 50 Ben Leach might just be hurting him in the dirty air as well, so he's struggling to make the apexes. He's also a bit slower down the straights. This is proper stuff though, isn't it? It's almost like a Formula 4 1600 race, and these cars will drive and race very similarly to something like a Formula 4 car. They've got wings, but they don't produce a huge amount of downforce, and that means they can follow each other so closely. I mean, you can see this sort of like a go-kart race, actually. Forget Formula 4s, this is like go-karting, and it gets a bit too close there as Jacquelet gets a nerf from Ben Leach. He's going to go too quickly into the chicane as a result, and Leach pounces straight away. I thought for a second he might have given Jacquelet a bit of breathing room there, since it was attack from him that got him sideways in the first place, but Ben Leach is remorseless and dives alongside him as they come over the hill. He's got the inside for Hislop's corner. Ward knows better than to try and outbrake people into that corner because that's where he lost it on the opening lap of the race, and Pink Car stays behind them. So Carl Jacquelet, I think we'll have reason to be a bit miffed about that because he that position pretty well secured until he got hit going into the chicane, but they were all starting to fall over each other, and I think just lifted off slightly to avoid running into the back of the car in front of him, and Ben Leach didn't get the memo, kept his foot pinned to the floor and just the back of the number 42 machine. Dare I say it, it's calmed down for a minute, so let's have a look back at some of the battling going on behind, because I want to see Abby Pulling. She is in 10th position. There she goes, through Lodge Corner, just ahead of Gavin Johnson. Abby Pulling has gained 17 positions in just under 6 laps, and she is not done yet, because she's right on the gearbox now of Steve Hefford, who's gained an almost as impressive 16 positions. These two have absolutely rocketed through the field. They started together well outside the top 20, and in unison they've now both moved themselves into the top 10. Hefford in 9th, Pulling in 10th, and Gavin Johnson just behind them in 11th position. Also moving up through the order is Alex Hall as well. He's 14th place. He too has gained 17 positions, so there are quite a few really big movers. There's Alex Hall. We saw a lot of him at Okayama. He was in the top 10 battles for most of the race, as Ian Court, I think, was covering for a moment maybe there, coming through Cascades. But yeah, the 64 car of Alex Hall, in the end, only managed to score 8 points in race number 2, which was from a position sort of down towards the back end of the top 10. So Alex, despite having good speed last time out, was not able to get the results that that pace deserved. To the front though, I knew we didn't dare take our eyes off this for too much longer. It's about to change again by the looks of it. They're 8 seconds now behind the race leader, but Knox, Sharp and Hewitt are still together 2nd, 3rd and 4th. Then they've kind of split into 2 trios, haven't they? Because then you've got Ben Leach, David Ward, Carl Jacquelet. Ward there has got himself ahead of Jacquelet now into 6th position. Jacquelet, you'll be surprised to hear, he's trying to fight back, and that is not a place to bang wheels, going past the water tower. He's trying to get the inside line, and there's almost contact through Jewish. Jacquelet is sideways and somehow reappears into shot, pointing the wrong way. That was a brilliant car control, but Carl Jacquelet a bit ambitious there, trying to get up the inside into Druids, having already made contact with Ward at the previous corner. Back to Freddie Hewitt then. He's in third place. Ben Sharp trying to get this third place away from him. But look at Ben Leach. Ben Leach is catching them now. That was a personal best lap for Ben Leach, 152.29, which is more or less on the pace of everybody else in this group. It's still about 3/10 off the pace of the leader, but Ben Leach is now starting to put some considerably better lap times in. He's got away from David Ward and Carl Jacquelet behind him critically, so he's now able to focus all of his attention onto the back of the 3 cars in front of him. Continue to battle away. Freddie Hewitt with another look at the inside into Island Bend. A lapped car soon to be negotiated as well, as these two run side by side. Hewitt on the outside into Shell. Now you can go around the outside here because of the banking and get a good run off the corner. Just where Knox went off, of course, and Ben Sharp a lap or so ago. More now with Ben Sharp, who keeps it on the island this time. British chicane now. They're going to catch this back marker somewhere over hilltop. Hopefully it has seen the blue flags and will stay out of the way, and it does. Nicely done. That's the number 26 car, which is Douglas Hamilton, after a couple of spins today. He goes a lap down to our second place battle, which continues to intensify lap by lap. We're approaching the half race distance now. As last time, this 30-minute race is going by even quicker than the 20-minute sprint race does, because it is just all action. So much going on out on track. Racing, the quality of racing in the PDC Racing League has been second to none so far in Season 2. Oulton having a spin in front there, and that's not a good place to catch a recovering car. They all did a magnificent job of avoiding it, but I think Freddie here had just lift off the throttle a bit there to avoid running into the back of it, and that means they've all closed in. Ben Leach up the inside of Ben Sharp, and that was a peach of a move into Lodge Corner. Leach then moves into 4th place now. Going to be another personal best lap, I wonder. His last lap was a personal best, a 152.29. This time, yeah, 52.41. That is a really good lap time, that, from Ben Leach. And everyone around him. It's a replay. Look at that. I mean, he was close enough. That was perfect, really, because he was close enough to Ben Leach, Sharp. I'm going to get one of them to change their name, I think, for the next round. He was close enough to Ben Leach to make the move, obviously, but he wasn't so close that Leach felt the need to defend. That's the perfect distance behind the other car that you want to be into that corner, because if you're right on their gearbox, they know the attack is coming, so they're obviously going to defend it. Oh no, Leach into the back of Chris Knox. And just as we're waxing lyrical about that brilliant overtake he made, he gives the position straight back again to Ben Sharp, who will be driving along with a smile on his face now, having got himself back into 4th place. And, of course, now he'll be wise to that move at Lodge Corner, so I think Leach might have to get inventive now with his overtaking attempts. Gavin Johnson still following Abby Pulling. They've made no further progress since we last saw them, actually. They're all starting to gang up on Steve Hefford, though. And Peter Van Gool, actually. No, so they're all catching Van Gool. So you've got the 2 teammates there, the Momo cars, who have both moved across from the BSR series to race with the PDC Racing League, and they're running well. Peter Van Gool in 7th, which is where he started. Steve Hefford in 8th, which is very much not where he started. He's gained those 17 positions, remember. Abby Pulling is 9th, Gavin Johnson 10th, and Alex Hall is now in 11th place. He's gained 20 spots. He started in 31st in Alex Hall, and he's almost on the back of this group now as they slide their way out of Druids. There he is, look, going into double apex right-hander. So actually, no, he's a few seconds behind them, but might catch them if they keep on the way that they're going. Got Kevin Boland behind, then the 77 of Ian Court, Roger Morton, Nyland all there as well. To Steve Hefford, slow car there, staying well out of the way. So Hefford, Bing and Johnson all trying to chase the Peter Van Gool car for 7th place. It looks like Hefford's going to have a go here on his teammate Izzy into Cascade. He's got the inside line. That usually is the quickest way through, and as Van Gool runs out wide, Abby Pulling sees a chance to draw alongside as well. Ducks into the slipstream, halfway down the straight she pulls out of it, gives her the inside line for Island Bend, and it's really committed stuff through there, but as we've seen time and again tonight, you don't want to be stuck on the outside line at Island Bend, and Peter Van Gool knows that. Backs out sensibly and let Abby Pulling go. And then now gains her 19th position of the race. Steve Hefford gains his 18th, and they're 2.3 seconds behind Carl Jacquelet, so that's the next gap to watch, I suppose, see whether or not they're able to catch Jacquelet for 5th. He in turn is only about half a second behind Ben Sharp in 5th, so they could get challenged for 5. Oh, now that's a shame. Alex Hall is in the pit lane. What's happened here? We're going to see a replay, I think, here, possibly, of Alex Hall. Oh, a car, that marker there spins in front of Alex, who had nowhere to go. Oh, that is a real shame. Alex Hall was on for one of the race. It was Lee Vaughan, I think, that loses it. Yeah, Lee Vaughan goes around. Nothing that could do Alex Hall there to avoid the contact. That is not what he deserved, honestly, after what had been a sublime drive up until that point. It's racing, unfortunately, sometimes things that go wrong are completely out of your hands. You'll be shocked to hear that in the time we've looked away from this fight for the podium place, it's all changed again. Freddie Hewitt's getting away now from Chris Knox, but then it is David Ward in fourth place, look, who is challenging Knox through Old Hall. That marker gets out of the way, but we know that David Ward's got pace because he qualified top 5 for race 1, probably would have finished in the top 5 had he not had that spin and the contact with Jacqueline on the opening lap down at Hislop. So David Ward clearly feels that he's got the pace to take third away from Chris Knox. Maybe he's going to be able... Oh yeah, where's Ben Leach gone? That's the other thing. I thought something else had changed. Ben Leach has vanished from this group. Oh, and that'll be why he's had contact with Ben Sharp. So the two Bens have come together as Chris Knox was having a spin in front of him. This is all down at Hislop, so Knox was having a slide. He saved that slide, but then... Oh, well, contact between Leach and Sharp. Oh, Leach goes for a lunge on the inside, and, well, never going to stop the car, let's be honest, was he? He ran straight on anyway, even after he'd hit Ben Sharp. I think he legitimately quite grumpy about that. So that is why it's all chasing. Now, Sharp has carried on, possibly with some suspension damage as a result of that. He's in 5th position, second ahead of Carl Jacqueline. And they're about 3.5 ahead of the Johnson Van Gool train. The Pulling, though, has gone. What's happened to Abby Pulling? He's down to 20th place now all of a sudden. So here's Dan Blake. We've missed everything that Dan Blake's done in this race because there's so much else that's been going on behind them. But Abby Pulling is not in the... no, she is. Yeah, she's out of the race, I think, Abby Pulling. So Abby... not quite sure what happened there. We're going to look back through the tapes and try and see. She's obviously had an off-track excursion somewhere, but whether it was self-inflicted or not, we'll find out for you. Kellyman, I can see, has just been off the road as well. Ben Best has just gone a lap down. This man is Dan Blake, the race leader, just about to put Pip Hammond one lap down as well. Now, what you're seeing, I think, here is the Abby Pulling moment. Trying to overtake Heffern, ran out wide. Yeah, this is all up at the Island hairpin. Bounces back onto the track again, though. But that's not actually... went wrong, so that's she had been off the track there though, so we think now, we're hearing it might be a connection issue because the can't find another incident where she's been off the road. So Abby Pulling, it's possible that it was a connection that got broken, and that is what has put her of the race, and that is heartbreaking stuff. So the two biggest movers, or two of the biggest movers in the race, she and Alex Hall, both unfortunately being taken out of things that were not their fault. Let's hope no such bad luck befalls this third place battle, because we're looking forward to seeing how this resolves itself over the final 7 or 8 minutes or so of racing. We're on board with Ben Sharp. He is in 5th position. Knox just ahead of us, then David Ward. They've lost about 3.3 seconds now to Freddie Hewitt, who is in 2nd place. Blake is just kind of sitting around with everyone here. He's just set another fastest lap 22 minutes into the race, and he's just on 151.49 on tyres that you would have imagined are pretty far past their best right now. That is about the same sort of time that we saw the fastest lap set by Ben Leach in race number 1 as well. So Dan Blake is really on it here. Quite going to be a maximum points haul from Oulton Park, but it's certainly going to give him a healthy championship lead as we head to the next pair of races next Friday night at Laguna Seca in America. We've got about 7 minutes or so left of this race, and who is going to finish on this bottom step of the podium? Well, right now it will be either David Ward, Chris Knox or Ben Sharp, because they're 3 seconds ahead of Jacqueline. He's being caught, by the way, by Steve Hefford. A lap or so ago I said that was a 3.5 second lead between Jacqueline 6th and Hefford 7th. It's now down to 2 seconds between the two of them, and Hefford is bringing Gavin Johnson with him. pulling was with them, of course, before that. There goes Jacqueline, look through Cascades in that 6th place, getting closer and closer. Behind him are Hefford, Johnson and Van Gool. There you can see them in the background. Van Gool a bit distant, actually, but Hefford and Johnson definitely reeling him in. Of course, these three trip over each other again. They could all catch the podium battle as well. Big slide there into the Shell hairpin. David Ward's got a bit of rear damage, I think, on that number 69 car, and it's definitely hurting him into that island hairpin. That's a little rear grip, and that's allowed Chris Knox alongside, but once again, Britain chicane turns out to be safer when it's taken single file than 2x2. Backing out of it, look at the momentum it costs Chris Knox, and so now Ben Sharp has another chance to look at the inside. This is the corner in which Sharp was rudely nerfed out of the way by Ben Leach a few laps ago, and he very nearly considered making the same move there on Chris Knox, but in order to avoid the contact, he braked a bit earlier, settles back in behind him. Beautiful aerial shots here of the Oulton Park circuit. They crest the hill at Clay Hill. You get a good sense of the speed here as they flash past the trees into Druids Corner. Through the double apex right-hander. Look how little runoff area there is there. It's not a nice place to have an accident. It is a good place, though, to be carrying speed, and that's what Ben Sharp is doing. Carries much more speed off the corner than Chris Knox. Goes through on the inside into Lodge Corner, so puts Sharp into 4th position. It's hard to do anything about David Ward. Ward is 6/10 ahead. Well, forget that. He's got to try and fend off a resurgent Chris Knox first. Knox had a better exit from Lodge Corner. Doesn't quite get to the inside into Old Hall. Braking in Old Hall Corner in these cars, so it's not really an outbraking opportunity. This lap, by the way, just set by Freddie Hewitt. Freddie Hewitt in 2nd place has just taken the fastest lap point away from Tam Blake. That'll go down like a lead balloon for the race leader. A 151.40. It's only about 9/100ths of a second faster than Blake. The Hewitt, who's not going to catch Dan because he's 10.3 seconds behind, but that is a signal of his intent. And Freddie is not doing badly in the championship either. Remember, he arrived here ninth in the points, and he's already had race number 1 at a 5th place finish. Now, if he can finish 2nd with fastest lap in this race, that would score him 29 points. So this could be... It could be that Freddie Hewitt is actually becoming Dan Blake's nearest championship rival now, with some other drivers having such inconsistent races here at Oulton Park. Maybe it's Hewitt that we're going to be seeing taking the battle to Dan over the rest of the season. Worth saying that although Dan Blake has this 10-second lead, I don't think he's 10 seconds faster than everybody else. And again, the lap time by Freddie Hewitt kind of proving my point there. The reason that Blake really has been able to build up that margin is because everybody else so long battling each other in the early stages. Now, Johnson, who's still right on the tail of Steve Hefford, but they've kind of stagnated a bit now. They are no longer catching Carl Jacqueline. I wonder if that's because Gavin Johnson, is starting to think a bit more seriously about overtaking Steve Hefford now. And as he does so, Hefford is driving in the mirrors a bit more. They're not going quite as quickly, but fair play to Gavin. We're into the final few laps now. He's worked well with Hefford up to this point. It's go time. Now he wants to try and get that 1 extra position before the checkered flag. Lodge Hefford just drifting a bit wide over the grass creek there, but there's some amount of grip actually over the edge of the track through that corner, and again through Old Hall Corner. It's not that uncommon to see people a bit wide here, but not really slowing down. Keep it nicely within the white lines, more or less, and continue down the hill into Cascades. Watching then the fight for 7th place. Steve Hefford has already gained 18 places in this race. Wants to try and make sure that he doesn't lose one now to Gavin Johnson in the closing stages. Gets very sideways out of Cascades. Give Johnson the run down the back straight, or under down the lakeside straight, so named because of the lake that it runs down the side of. You'll be surprised to hear. And they turn into Island Bend. Gavin had a go on the inside there, but didn't quite manage to commit to it. Changes for 3rd place now. Ben Sharp has got himself into that 3rd place to having got past Chris Knox. He's now found a way past David Ward as well. We'll get a replay of how he did it, but he's definitely got himself into a podium place. Will he now be able to escape, though? It's too late to catch Freddie Hewitt, who's 3.7 seconds ahead and continuing to lap actually quicker than the race leader as well, albeit nowhere near enough to catch him at this stage. Sharp, we're going to see a replay. Yep, into Old Hall Corner. Looks like he set it up at the previous corner at Lodge. Brings the speed into turn 1, and through goes the Alpha Live liveried machine. Ben Sharp then, very nicely from the contact he had with Ben Leach earlier on. Can he now seal the deal and bring home a podium finish? That would be a brilliant way to end the evening for Ben Sharp. I don't think raced with us at Diarma a week ago. Ben Leach did, but Ben Sharp not. In fact, no, Ben Leach didn't either, so neither of the Bens are with us a week ago. They've definitely made their presence felt tonight, though, here in the two races at Park. This potentially is going to be the final lap of the race, we believe. We're running out of time, and it's touch and go. Because Dan Blake's so far ahead of everyone else, there's every chance that he will cross the line before the 30 minutes are up, but the rest of them won't. But that still means they have to complete that extra lap as well. Yes, Dan, we haven't really given him much attention in this race because he's had by far the least interesting race of anybody out there, but that I'm sure has suited him down to the ground. He got the lead off the line, pulled away pretty much instantly as well, and it really was important for him to get past Ben Leach at the start and had the pole position for this second race of the night. Blake in second place, so and got past him, and as a result was able to get away from the battling rather than being a part of it. The 16th time and into the Hislop chicane. Did 11 laps in race 1, which was 10 minutes shorter, so be about right probably to do a 16 lapper here for race number 2. I'm sure would be quite happy to drive around Oulton Park for the rest of the night. He's clearly having fun, in a nice rhythm, and unlike at Okayama where he really had to get his elbows out, it was quite a gritty, determined drive at Okayama after the qualifying issues that he had. Today at Oulton Park he's been able to stay in podium places all night long, really. Out of Lodge, it looks like we're not quite going to see the checkered flag this time. The last lap board is being readied. And yep, Dan Blake goes through onto another lap. But he only just got through, I think, before the time disappeared. So, and we'll have one more lap to do. That means everyone else has another lap to go as well. So this battle gets to rage on for another 2.7 miles. And they've got some traffic just ahead. Look, that is in court, is it? No, 67. Charles Kellyman, who is the first car one lap down. He sees them coming though, pulls to the right-hand side of the road. Sharp in that third place. David Ward fourth, and Chris Knox has just set the fastest lap of 51.40. It's fractionally quicker than the 51.40 that Freddie Hewitt set a few laps ago. Hewitt is still 2.5 seconds ahead of them, but Chris Knox, the yellow car with the double slipstream, of course, following these two cars around at the moment, maybe benefited him, and he's been able to set the fastest lap. But can he convert that into 2 overtakes on the final lap? That will be a challenge, especially since really there's only 1 or 2 overtaking opportunities left now. Sharp holding on to third place well at the moment. David Ward fourth, Chris Knox in 5th position. Herbs left to right through the left-hander again. Good exit there from Sharp. It's actually Ward that might have to defend now down into probably his least favourite corner on the track, the Hislop chicane, but I don't think Knox is going to have a lunge from that far back. Game they go then, and really that only leaves Lodge Corner now, where we could see some positions changing, so we can give Dan Blake the attention that he deserves, because it has been an utterly crushing defeat this for everyone else. Dan Blake has dominated this race. He's 11.7 seconds ahead of anybody else. That's got to be getting on for one of the largest winning margins that we've had so far in this championship, either in Season 2 or Season 1. It's definitely the largest winning margin of Season 2 so far, and there's no real surprise that it goes to the reigning champion. Dan Blake wins race number 2 at Oulton Park. The 4th round of the championship goes to the reigning champion, and he further extends his championship lead. But one of my drivers of the race definitely is the youngster Freddie Hewitt, who crosses the line in 2nd. Ben Sharp gets himself a podium in 3rd, with Chris Knox 4th and 5th position for David Ward. So they stayed in the same places they were in before, and Chris Knox was a big slide after the checkered flag. In celebration, maybe, or maybe just overcooked it in total corner, I'm not sure. 6th position went to Carl Jacquelet, then he fended off Steve Hefford, but only by a second in the end. Hefford did catch him nearly at the checkered flag, but Steve also was able to keep Gavin Johnson at bay. Johnson finishes in 8th, Peter Van Gool 9th, and Chris Nyland gained 18 places there. That's a really good drive from Chris Nyland, and he gets himself into the top 10. There is the 133 car. I don't think we've seen him all night, but Chris Nyland gets himself into 10. Kevin Boland is 11th. Ed Cooper should come across the line in 12th position, which he does, and that makes up a bit for the pile-up he was involved in at Old Hall Corner involving Sam Holman in race number 1. He gets a few points for 12th place. Ben Bateman in 13th, Dale Benison 14th, Adam Southgate only 15th in the end. definitely being on the pace all day, but not going to get the results that he would deserve, really. Benison and Southgate not yet at the flag. Here comes Dale Benison through the ultimate corner at Druids. The 37 machine, Alex Hall has crossed the line a lap down, so too Charles Kellyman and Kevin McGlone. As the final few cars have come through, we'll be able to confirm the results. Good battle actually going on behind Benison. Southgate and Morton scrapping over the final point there in 15th. And Morton trying to get away through at the final turn, Lodge Corner, but Adam Southgate is just about going to hang on. It's 15th place with Roger Morton, the last car across the line in 16th. In though, out about that, it goes to Dan Blake and Yearone Racing putting on a nice little close quarters demonstration here, and they struggled to do this at full speed, but they had a really good race there with Blake leading the race, Ben Sharp in third. You had Jack Lett up there in sixth position as well, and the number 4 car of Kevin Boland just missing out on the top 10, so it was a really productive day that for the Yearone Racing team. Teams Championship in the PDC Racing League, they would almost certainly be on top right now. They come down into the Hislop chicane. Blake at the back of the queue, but that has not been his place so far tonight. He has been very, very tough to beat. He wins the second race after finishing second in race number 1. His lead, therefore, remains secure. So, race results then, and it is the win for Dan Blake. Freddie Hewitt second, Ben Sharp in third, Chris Knox fourth. David Ward will round out the top 5 finishers. Carl Jacquelet gets some more points in 6th, but I think he would have been hoping to be fighting for race wins as he was a week ago. Next time at Laguna Seca. For Carl, then Steve Hefford is 7th, Gavin Johnson 8th, Peter Allen rounding out the top 10. In 11th was Kevin Boland, Ed Cooper gets 12th, Ben Bateman 13th, Dale Benison 14th, and Southgate rounds out the points in 15th, as I cleverly closed my timing screen. That was a good time to do that, wasn't it? 16th for Roger Morton, 17th Alex Hall, 18th Charles Kellyman, 19th Kevin McGlone, Jones to round out the top 20, and then a lap down with Ben Bateman, Ian Crosby, Lee Vaughan, Alan Toon, and Hamilton, and then the long list of retirements: Sam Holman, Ben Best, Abby Pulling, very unlucky Abby Pulling there, Pip Hammond, Ian Court, Leach, a non-finisher after that contact down at the chicane with Ben Sharp, Marcus Weller, Ben Hansey, Gary Bailey, and Paul Warren all failed to get to the finish. But we have 25 cars running, which, I mean this as respectfully as I can make it sound, was a lot more than I expected maybe at the start of the night we'd have running at the end of the day. I think it might turn into a bit of a crash fest, but no, driving standards have been really very good. Apart from the odd isolated incident, we've enjoyed some fabulous racing. Much contact at all. Dan Blake then is your race winner, and he is, I'm delighted to say, here on time this time around, although I'm struggling to get him into the comms box, so we'll let Graham Sessford, our producer, bring him in. And there we go, Dan Blake in the box now. Dan, well done, you got the win this time. It was a bit of a boring race though, really, wasn't it? I wish you were in that battle that was going on behind you, because that was pretty epic, but I'm sure you're quite glad to have had a fairly quiet 30 minutes.
It was all about the start, Andy. I just timed it perfect, got past Ben, Leach, and then from then on, it was really just a case of trying not to make a single mistake and sort of let them fight behind. I know Ben Sharp and a few of the other guys behind were scrapping, and I just got my head down, got the times in, and then it was a case of just trying to. It was mentally taxing because I didn't want to get in a position like Senna and Monaco all those years where you have lapse of concentration and you've been it. So I was literally 100% the whole race, even though there's no one behind me, because I just felt that was the way to keep my momentum going. And yeah, I was tired up, but yeah, very happy with the result.
Start was crucial, wasn't it? And we could see that once you got that launch that was a bit better than Ben, weren't letting that go, were you? You went side by side through Old Hall, side by side around the outside through Cascades, but it was so crucial to get ahead.
Exactly. I know Ben Leach is a very quick racer. I've raced with him many times, and obviously the first race he proved that if he got away, that's what happened. So I didn't take too many risks, and Ben was sensible as well. And in the races he was saying he wasn't going to attack me for the first couple of laps, so he was just trying to pull away. But once Ben got caught up with Chris Knox and Ben Sharp and Freddie Hewitt, it sort of gave me that little window to put the laps in and to get away. And from then on, really, as I say, it was just all about keeping the gap, maintaining the gap, and not making any mistakes, because the last thing I'd want to do is do something absolutely stupid and throw away a lead and embarrass myself.
Yeah, because we wouldn't let you forget about it if you did. 4 races down, you've only been out the top 2 once, of course, in that second race at Okayama. And then we head to another completely different circuit at Laguna Seca. How confident are you can keep this top 2 finishing record going?
Not so familiar with Laguna Seca, but we got a week to go, so I'll get the practice in, and it's all about the preparation, really. I think if I can get a good week's preparation in and sort of get the track nailed down, it should be okay. Obviously, Laguna Seca, you've got Corkscrew and a couple other corners which can catch you out, so it's going to be another interesting one, but I'm going to go in and give it my best shot as always.
Yep, and we're going to look forward to seeing how you get on as well. Well done, Dan. A really, really solid night of racing for you.
Thanks, Andrew Safety. Thank you as well. Thank you to Gavin and Pip, PDC Racing, for setting this up. Also, thank you to my sponsors, Yearone Custom Flip Prop Company as well, for providing the car, and also Alpha Live, who were on the side of my car as well today. So thank you very much for all the sponsors on board as well, and that's for you guys.
Absolutely. Nicely done, Dan. Well done on the race victory. Second place in race 1, a dominant win in race 2 for our championship leader. And then let's move on to our second place finisher, shall we? And Freddie Hewitt, I think, is waiting outside the commentary box. And if we can just go and usher him in, we'll have a chat with him. And Freddie Hewitt, there we go. Freddie, first of all, congratulations, because it's been a really good night for you. You were on the pace in the top 5 in race 1. That was a fighting drive for the second place in that one. Talk us through it from your point of view.
Well, it was pretty weird because I've never been that high up on the grid before. So to be with all the bigger names was very weird, and I was sort of looking over my shoulder quite a bit, expecting sort of like a late move or something. But yeah, just got off the line, got quite a good start, and just followed them through. Tried to just sit back, but let them make the mistakes and them tap into each other and then push each other wide, and then go through, hopefully, which was kind of what happened.
To be able to do that, though, you have to be on the pace, and you definitely have been. You were pretty quick last week, but is this a circuit that you're a bit more familiar with, maybe, because you seem to hit the ground running this time?
Well, it's a circuit I've driven around before in real life, so that obviously just helps a little bit. I didn't have the track before this race night, so I only got it a couple of days ago. But I just it's a nice flowing track, which I enjoy them tracks quite a bit. So I think that could be one of the reasons, hopefully.
Well, fingers crossed you can carry that on to Laguna Seca, which I'm guessing is another track you haven't driven in real life. But if you can keep this going, it looks like maybe it could be a championship contender. If Dan has a bit of a slip, you could be right there with him.
I didn't really expect to be talking about championships, to be honest, coming into this. But if the opportunity is there, I'll certainly give it a go.
Stuff. Well, well done on the second place there, Freddie, and we look forward to seeing how you get on next week.
Thank you.
You hit it there then, second place in race number 2. And finally, we'll move on then to our third place finisher, Ben Sharp, who will be brought into the comms box in a second. Ben Sharp, who survived a few bruising encounters with a couple of other drivers during that race, including Ben Leach. Ben Sharp, congratulations on the podium. First of all, if you could stay away from all of the other Bens, that would do me the world of good, because I got a bit confused at times, mainly because you and Ben Leach spent half that race side by side, it seemed.
Yes, it was. It was a pretty intense race, actually. I really enjoyed it. I've never seen a 30-minute race feel like it went so quick.
Was brilliant, and it was brilliantly entertaining to watch as well. It did kind of go wrong on a couple of occasions. You had a couple of grassy moments, and then contact with Ben down at the chicane. What was your view of that?
Well, the grassy moments were just me. I've done nowhere near enough time in this car, so sometimes I get caught out just trying something a bit too much, and it's quite a hard car to feel what you're doing on the brakes and stuff, so it makes it quite tricky to drive. The one with Ben, I think he just went in a bit too deep, and like I gave him room on the inside, but he just ran it in too deep and pushed us both in the grass. But it's nothing. I didn't get any damage, luckily. That's why I was able to come back through.
That was going to be my next question, actually, because it did look like you still had good pace after that, and years of experience in the real world of this sort of close quarters racing, I guess, although these are different cars, obviously, but I guess that does kind of come in handy, because it was proper to and fro racing. You'd gain a place, you'd lose it again, you'd get it back again. There was not a moment to rest.
No, I am literally dripping with sweat right now after that one. It was that that hard. It was harder than most real racing because at least in the real racing, your mirrors, you can actually just move your head slightly and see around. So I think it is harder to race like we just did in that ding dong. So it's a great respect to everyone that really we didn't have as many coming together as we did.
It was brilliantly clean for the most part. Nice to have you up at the sharp end as well. Are you going to be back with us next week for Laguna Seca?
Yes, I should be, as long as nothing comes up work-wise, which it hasn't currently. So I should be there. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Is that a track that you're pretty quick at? Have you had much practice there before?
I've raced the MX-5 there a bit, but I've never drove a skip round there. But I've never really drove a skip anywhere till the last weeks. But yeah, I'll give it a go and see what happens.
Well, we've got high expectations then that you'll continue the pace from tonight. Well done on the podium, mate.
Thank you.
And there you go. Then our podium finishes from a fantastic second race of the night here at Oulton Park for the PDC Racing League, and we will be back again next week, same time, same place. Well, same time, not the same place actually, because we're going to be at Laguna Seca in California, USA, for the 5th and 6th rounds of the PDC Racing League. And it will be a fantastic pair of races, I'm sure, around an iconic circuit, which definitely offers a few overtaking opportunities. A bit similar to Oulton, though. You're going to have to work hard, I think, for every position that you gain at Laguna Seca. But we will be back again next Friday night at 8 o'clock UK time. Don't miss it. Plenty more action, though, coming your way, courtesy of Yearone Racing TV. Tomorrow, cricket for the Evenley CC and Silverstone CC teams. That will be kicking off at 1 o'clock on Friday evening. The Excite Energy NHS Heroes charity race will be at 6:45 time on Sunday. That's definitely worth tuning in for. A really worthwhile cause we're trying to raise some money for. Charity events tend to bring out the playful side for a lot of racing drivers. We should be in for some really good racing there. On Monday night, it's the British Formula 4 iRacing Trophy heading into the second half of its season. It's really starting to hot up between a few of the young stars of the real world. Formula 4 Championship, 7:30 UK time on Monday night. Need to tune in for that. And then on Tuesday, 8 p.m. UK time, is the BSR MX5 2020 Pro Series, with 4 races coming your way from that always exciting one-make championship. Before on Wednesday night at 10 to 8, the PowerMax Racing E-Series is at Oulton Park, the circuit that we've just enjoyed 2 races tonight from for the PDC Racing League, the popular one-make touring car championship, pitting top-level sim racers against real-world professional touring car, single-seater and GT stars. That comes to you from 10 to 8, and that has been absolutely spectacular so far this season. You do not want to miss it. As ever, head over to the Yearone Racing TV social media pages for all of the information on upcoming broadcasts, because it is the place to be if you want to keep up with all of the best that the sim racing world has to offer. That, though, I think is all that we have to offer you tonight. We have enjoyed 2 brilliant races, 2 different winners, but it's Dan Blake that is already starting to establish himself as the championship favourite. You'd have thought, hey, he was the reigning champion. He came into this season with number 1. He was a bit worried whether or not it'd be a curse to carry that number 1, but so far, he's only been outside of the top 2 once. He's had 2 race victories, including a win today by 12 seconds. Some brilliant racing behind him, though, and that is all set to continue next Friday evening, Laguna Seca. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Thanks to Graham Sessford and everyone else at Yearone Racing TV, Gavin Johnson and Pip Hammond as well, for putting together the PDC Racing League. They have been working non-stop in the background. There are lots of exciting developments on the way as well over the next few weeks, which we'll keep you posted on. Yeah, that is about all we have time for. Be sure to join us again next Friday night for more PDC Racing League action. Laguna Seca.